So I invite you to find a comfortable position. Let all of your bubbles settle. I'm going to have you reach out and touch a wooden part of the pew you're sitting on or the pew in front of you. And as you breathe, be at ease and recognize how that pew is attached to this building, which is attached to this earth, which is the surface upon which all of us walk. As you breathe, imagine peace for yourself. Imagine what it would be like to be at ease all the time. Not because the world is at ease around you, but because your ease is in service to the peace that we seek. And that right now, your peace is infusing itself with everything on this planet, right down to the core. This is not in your imagination, this is real. Whatever peace you can muster, you are giving to the entire world right now. A world that so desperately needs it, as do each of us. And connect your mind and heart with the peace of others doing the same thing. People meditating, people sitting quietly on the shore of a lake. People in the trenches of wartime, in between the bursts of artillery, in those brief seconds of actual real peace. Draw upon it. Expand it. And return it back to the world with your blessing. Take one final breath and return. So serenity, huh? It seems like something that other people get to have, if we're lucky. And I am participating in Lent this year, which I don't always do. I'm not always observant of all the traditions. But this year I thought I could use a little bit of Lent. And I decided to give up Facebook Reels, because I could literally sit down for 2 minutes and scroll endlessly. Even though I have programmed, I have trained my algorithms to be giving me fun stuff, interesting stuff, empowering stuff, inspiring stuff, it's still stuff. It's still stuff that's like distracting me. And the purpose of Lent is to actually give up something, not as a way of suffering, but to give up something as a way of making space. To make space for more introspection, for more opportunities for peace and serenity. One of the videos that I used to love to watch, before I decided to consciously alter my algorithms by what I clicked like on and what I watched multiple times or things like that, is I used to love to watch videos of 20-something men losing their crap over a video game. That somebody either interrupted them on, or power outage, or a plug got pulled, or they got a bad score. I don't know why, loved watching them have full-throated meltdowns over a game. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about that is that it reminds me of some of what's going on in the world right now. Because there's this thing in psychology, which is basically a metaphor for biology. It's called extinction burst. And I've talked about extinction burst with a few members of the congregation over the past few weeks because I keep ruminating in my head about what this thing called extinction burst is. And essentially, extinction burst looks an awful lot like those guys having a meltdown over their video game. Because first, they're playing their game as they wish. They may be, and probably are, if they have this level of freak out, they are overindulging in the experience, and it's not even really good for them. It kind of damages their brain wiring, it's one thing to play a game, it's another thing to become obsessed with playing it to the point where losing it becomes an existential crisis. And there's an arc, a psychological arc to that experience, where first they're like overindulging, then something interrupts that overindulgence, and then they summarily lose themselves over the withdrawal of that. Does that sound like anything that may or may not be happening in the world today? Extinction burst is something that actually gives me a bit of serenity, because there's something that there's a way of approaching extinction burst in a child who suddenly has what they don't want to lose removed from them, and they lose their stuff, and they eventually, if consistent and loving pressure is applied, they will eventually accept what has befallen them. They'll become resigned to it, and they will either form a new path or stop the behavior, but they will then find some peace. That is what I believe we're experiencing in society right now. That we are experiencing an extinction burst of people who used to get their way in a way that was not good for everyone. And we started talking about diversity and started talking about equity and inclusion, and they have been made to feel threatened by that idea. They have been made to feel as though their world will end. Their game will be over because of this. And as a person who relies upon diversity, equity, and inclusion for even standing at this pulpit right now, I feel an existential concern about their existential concern. So when I look at prayers like the Serenity Prayer, which of course is something that we know about because of its traditional prominence within the recovery community, all of us, are recovering from something, or going through something. We're having a shared experience. And so, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That first line is very interesting to me. Because acceptance, this is like the most difficult spiritual principle, acceptance, because we think, oh, I can't accept that. Spiritual acceptance is different than allowing things to occur. Spiritual acceptance is about operating from a place of truth and saying, okay, there's a group of people who are losing it right now over something that they don't even need to be losing it over. They don't even realize it doesn't even hurt them to be more inclusive. But they are freaking out. They are having their extinction burst moment. And we've been watching this happen since about 2016. It's increasingly gotten worse and worse and worse to the point where they want to take away my right to be married. They want to take away a teacher's right to say everybody's welcome in this classroom. That is a moment that will come to an end at some point, hopefully within our lives. And the only way that we can be of service to the end of this extinction burst is serenity. Is to accept that that's how they feel. We can accept somebody's freak out, or we cannot accept somebody's freak out. The way we don't accept their freak out is to battle them over their freak out, to tell them that they are wrong, which they may very well be. But do you think that that's a message that they will be receptive to? Accepting them where they are is like watching the movie Maleficent. When we all saw Beauty and the Beast as kids, we saw a two-dimensional character of Maleficent just being a bad chick. Just hurting and just being mad and turning into a dragon and setting fire to everything. But the movie Maleficent made us realize there is more to that story. There is a heart inside that green fire-breathing dragon. A heart that actually hurts and was afraid and had things taken from them that they didn't understand. There was humanity in Maleficent. It's one of my favorite examples because I see that as part of the learning curve of our civilization on this planet, is that we are suddenly becoming interested in the humanity of our otherwise two-dimensional villains. That they are human too. We have to accept the humanity of those who think differently than us. Because accepting their humanity is not the same thing as tolerating their behavior. Accepting their humanity means I can't change who you are, necessarily. But I know for sure that I can't change who you are without first accepting who you are and what your truth is and what your fears are. And that I cannot arrest you or sublimate you or shame you into feeling differently. I have to actually accept you as you are. One of the things that I learned from Scripture is that if we want something to change, we cannot kill it into changing. We actually have to put it on our lap and love it, because transformation only occurs in that environment. We actually have to love our enemies, which means accepting them. That doesn't mean tolerating their behavior, but it does mean approaching their behavior with an entirely different mental landscape. One that starts with our own serenity. And accepting there are things in this world that we have no power to change. But that the only things that will change will be done by us accepting them as they are first. And using that as a platform. Not only so that we can preserve our own wellness, because we have to get through this moment somehow. We have to survive so that we can enjoy when it's over. And it will be over. It will. God willing, it will be in all of our lifetimes. But we will see some progress. There are things that will get rebuilt better than they were before. And your serenity, my serenity, our serenity is the linchpin to it all. And if we lose our serenity, then they have won. Because that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they know and they're familiar with. That is what is resonant with their experience. It is what they understand. Battle. Disequity. Immorality, even. It is resonant with their fear. The best way around that, the best way under the skin of that, is to love them in spite of it all. And to say what's going on in here will change what's going on out there. Because how I react to it makes all the difference. Be an instrument of serenity and spiritual acceptance. Start there. Start there with a friend in your family or a family member or somebody in your life that you can't. You have to accept that they're there. But that you are not in alignment with. Start with them. And say, you know what? We are different. But just for sparkly goat poop and giggles, I am going to accept you where you are. And let's start from that point. Just start from there. And make an assumption that that is what will actually bring about the change you want, the transformation you seek. That is what loving your enemy actually means. That is what spiritual acceptance of an unacceptable situation looks like. And that is something any of us can do. I have family members that I want to remove from my life. people I have loved my entire life. I don't want to be their friend anymore. I want to kick them out. So you are not alone in wanting to block people from your life who mean something to you. But I'm going to accept them. And I'm going to let them know that I accept them. We don't have to talk about politics. We can talk about what really matters, which is how we love each other. And then maybe my example will have a ripple effect into their reality. But it definitely won't if I kick them out of my life. There's no chance then. Don't kick them out of your lives as much as you might want to. I mean, if they're physically harming you or creating a disruption that's toxic, do what you got to do. Then love them psychically from a distance. But love them anyway. Love them no matter what. And we will survive this. And we will make an even more impressive world when it's over. So our